Hello, everyone. I am Ryan Clifton Bowling. Thank you for joining me. Well, what a lot of people have feared, including myself, has actually happened. Dave Chappelle yesterday was on stage, I think in Los Angeles, and I actually saw the video. Guy jumps up and tries to bum rush him. Video is only like a few seconds long. Tries to bum rush him, tackle him on the stage. It was just absolutely crazy. And I had done a video on Will Smith, the Will Smith and Chris Rock debacle back in March. And we all are familiar with that. If you're not familiar with that by now, then you've been living under a rock. And I and other YouTube commentators have said that Will Smith's actions was going to open the gateway or the doorway, so to speak, to other individuals who would do the same thing. They would use this to exploit the idea of just bum rushing the stage and trying to attack comedians whom they didn't like, something they said. They get upset, they jump to it. Now, I don't know exactly what Dave Chappelle said at this moment that would cause this person to get up, jump up on the stage and try to tackle him. We haven't got word for that, but it's just crazy. It's just great. It just goes to show you. So let's get into this. Let's read this article, and I'm going to give my commentary as we go forth. So the title of the article is Dave Chappelle attacked on stage during Hollywood Bowl show. Wow. And you know what's crazy about this is when I saw the term, I got up this morning, you know what I'm saying, do my normal thing, get up in the morning and everything, have breakfast, and I click on the TV and I look on YouTube, and there's this picture of Dave Chappelle being tackled by this guy, and the news source I never heard of before. It's like, I think it said Info Media, something like that. I said, what is this? And I thought it was a joke. So I clicked onto it to see what it was about. It actually showed Dave Chappelle, somebody filming Dave Chappelle being tackled by this guy on stage. I'm like, this is some kind of a joke or something, really? So I waited around. And said, okay, well, I'll look on Breitbart News to see if it's on there. And lo and behold, it was on Breitbart News. So you know I'm going to cover this. So let's go on. Comedian Dave Chappelle was attacked Tuesday night as he stood on stage during a performance at the Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles. A host of clips shared on social media show him being floored by an onlooker who rushed the stage set and took him down in a flying tackle. Now, before I go any further with this, if you guys want to actually see that video, you can look at the link in the description box, www.breitbart.com. You can look on that, type that in and Google it in, and then you can go to Breitbart and look up the title of this particular article, and you can actually see for yourself what this individual did. It's just insane. Further video appeared to show the comic apparently unharmed after returning to the stage at the Netflix is a Joke festival, as security personnel surrounded and took down the alleged attacker in the rear corner of the stage. Now, this is about to get insane. Listen to this. After returning to the stage on Tuesday, the 48-year-old joked it was a trans man. Now, that's not what's insane. What's insane is about what this guy apparently had on him. Meanwhile, his assailant was apprehended and removed from the site with injuries. Los Angeles Police Department officials told NBC Los Angeles the suspect was armed, quote, with a replica gun that could eject a knife blade when discharged correctly. Let's say that again. The Los Angeles Police Department officials told NBC Los Angeles the suspect was armed, quote, with a replica gun that could eject a knife blade when discharged correctly. What kind of a contraction is this? I never heard of a replica gun that could eject a knife blade when discharged correctly. What if you guys have heard anything about even remotely close to this? Please leave it in the comment box below, because I've never heard about this. And this is clear that this individual meant to do harm to Dave Chappelle. But let's go on. Let's see here. According to ABC journalist Stephanie Wash, fellow comic Chris Rock, who was slapped on stage by Will Smith at the Oscars in March, then came on stage with Chappelle. And this is what Stephanie Wash, ABC journalist Stephanie Wash, tweeted. Quote, Dave Chappelle was rushed and attacked on stage by a man at the Hollywood Bowl. Chappelle tussled with the man who ran behind the screen on stage and was surrounded by security. Chris Rock, who performed earlier, came on stage with him and joked, "Was that Will Smith?" But that's, you gotta laugh and stuff like that. Now that's professional comedians at work here. Chris Rock, who performed earlier, came on stage with a joke, "Was that Will Smith?" Hilarious. U.S.-based British journalist Sharon Carpenter said actor and singer Jamie Foxx also joined Chappelle. And here is her tweet. She said, Chris Rock and Jon Stewart were among the group of comedians performing alongside Dave Chappelle tonight when the incident happened. Jamie Foxx jumped on stage to help and make sure Dave was okay. In another video, Chappelle could be seen thanking his famous friend for helping out, saying, quote, "Whenever you're in trouble, Jamie Foxx would show up in a sheriff's hat," end quote. "I thought that was part of the show," Foxx responded. Later, the comedian sounded a note of both shock and levity, saying, "I've been doing this for 35 years. I just stomped a N-word backstage. I always wanted to do that." Interesting, huh? Fox gave a more serious assessment. Jamie Foxx gave a more serious assessment. This is what he says. "Listen, I just want to say this man is an absolute genius. We got to make sure we protect him at all times," said Fox. "For every comedian who comes out here, this means everything. You're a genius. You're a legend. You're a legend, and we're not going to let nothing happen to you." A spokesman for the Hollywood Bowl said an investigation has been launched, with the BBC reporting they said, quote, "The incident that occurred at the Hollywood Bowl on May 3rd, 2022 is an active investigation, and we are unable to comment further at this time." In October, about 100 people protested outside Netflix headquarters over the airing of a comedy special by Chappelle, which they said was transphobic. Chappelle returned fire at those he said wanted to, quote, "cancel him." "To the transgender community, I am more than willing to give you an audience," he said, "but you will not summon me. I am not bending to anyone's demands," end quote. And that's the end of that article right there. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that this actually happened. Not at all. I knew it was coming. And unfortunately, as I said before, we're going to see more of this. We're going to see more of this kind of activity, unfortunately, as comedians get up and say what they have to say. It's getting harder and harder for comedians to be comedians, man. It's just getting harder and harder for comedians to be comedians. But then there's this flip side of this whole thing. And it's like, when reading this article, and actually when I saw the video, I couldn't help but think, and I always think this. It's always had this conspiratorial mindset, like, okay, what if this is just a big setup to distract everyone's attention? It didn't work with Will Smith. That was supposed to be a Will Smith and Chris Rock debacle. That was supposed to be a distraction from the Ukraine-Russia situation and us possibly going to war. That didn't work. So they came up with it. So the elites came up with another concept to say, let's have someone come on stage with Dave Chappelle and try to bum rush him. You know what I mean? And it just so happened that Chris Rock was there and made that comment, like, was that Will Smith? Made that quote, a little comedic antic. Was that Will Smith? It's funny, but then I can't help but think, in a conspiratorial mentality kind of way, was this all a setup to distract everyone's attention from the bigger picture of what the government is actually doing? Who knows? But whatever the case may be, this is an unfortunate situation. I'm glad that Dave Chappelle is okay. But like I said, you can actually you can actually Google Breitbart and then look up that title for the article. And they will show you the videos of this man, if you haven't seen it yet, trying to tackle Dave Chappelle. And it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And this shows the level of lack of restraint, lack of self-control in our society. and I'm not surprised. I'm not, like I said earlier, I'm not surprised. And what really got me through, let's go back to that other concept. This whole idea of what he had on him. This guy had a replica gun that could project a knife out if operated correctly. That to me is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And this is putting a lot of these comedians in a state of fear. Now they can't even say anything. They can't even crack a joke. And as Dave Chappelle said, in a comedic kind of way, the person that tackled him was a trans man. Now, he was saying that in a joking kind of way, but one can't help but wonder, as the article stated earlier, about 100 people protested against something he said some time ago about that trans people didn't like. Who's to say that it wasn't one of them? Who's to say that it wasn't one of them? Nobody knows. Who knows? Who really knows? But at any point, this puts comedians in a bad position. Regardless of your race, black, white, what, doesn't matter. This puts comedians in a bad position. And I see this boiling over. I see this boiling over and getting worse and worse and worse. And I hate to be cynical, but I see this is what's going on. And until we start changing and stop being so super sensitive and snowflakey, then we won't have these kind of issues. But everybody's a snowflake. Nah. So like Dave Chappelle said earlier, some time ago, he said, everybody is a doggone snowflake. You can't blow on them without them getting upset. You can't look at them the wrong way without them getting upset. You looked at me the wrong way, man. Why you look at me like that? I'm looking at you, looking at me. I'm over here reading a book, and I just happen to feel your presence. I look up, you looking at me looking like a fool. So that's why I looked at you. It's just crazy. It's crazy. And I think a lot of this stuff, now I'm putting my tinfoil hat. I think a lot of this stuff is just by design. A lot of this stuff is by design to keep everybody distracted, to overwhelm your mind with all of this imagery and so forth, so that the elites can control us better for their one world government. That they have set up, that they're trying to set up. Get everybody on the same board, shock everybody's system with overwhelming them with all of this craziness, so that they can manipulate us psychologically with misinformation, with real misinformation, not this attack against conservatives, talking about conservatives giving misinformation. That's a big lie. That's just to silence the voice of conservatives. And I ain't gonna say nothing else about that, because that's what I believe. It's real information, which is coming from the radical left, that wants to shut the mouths of everyone. And in order to do that, they got to break everybody's spirit. I believe they want to break everybody's spirit psychologically so that they can plant all this nonsense in our minds. But hey, it's just my opinion on that. But what do you guys think about this whole debacle? You think it's going to get worse? You think it's going to get better for comedians or worse for comedians? What do you think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, share this video, and subscribe. God bless you all, and see you again.